Right, welcome to another. Now, if you've seen the video I done the other day, right, showing the Theodore Fritsch book, which talked about the concept of exhaustion of the soil, right? Which is basically a metaphor, right, for the method, right, that governments, etc., use to basically parasite on a host nation, destroy it, and leave a carcass, an empty and sort of used carcass of a land, right? It's basically how they do it. Now we see here this thing about it's another news story thing, right? Where they're basically talking about why can Britain never build enough homes. So they're basically trying to get the idea that there needs to be new homes built. All these new houses need to be built, and obviously this entails sort of bulldozing the half the land, like all the forest regions and the woodland regions and all that, to build new houses, right? And of course the majority of people that was going to move into these houses, immigrants, because obviously if they didn't have all this mass immigration from third world, there wouldn't be no shortage of houses in the first place, really. So of course, it's all just part of the same, the same revolving type of idea what they're using, right? Exhaustion of the soil is what it's called, and of course certain people get rich, make profit, right? And other people whose land it is, i.e. the host nations, right, lose their entire countries, in all capacities, not just economies, but they lose the actual land, their actual land is stolen off them, right? And they're given over to immigrants, and eventually them people's gone extinct, destroy the habitat, and the creature will go extinct, like the red squirrel, countersaur type of creatures, Of course, when you have this character who wrote this book, right, of course it's written up as anti-Semitic and all that, right? But again, like them other books that are from 1920s, like Practical Idealism and the Protocols of Zion, that one. One or two others, all these books seem to stem from the 1920s, right? And they all seem to be spot on, they're describing what's going on today. 100%. And so, obviously, them books are not widely read 100 years later, But if they were, it's everything that's gone on now is spelled out in those books, So you're coming under this concept, right, which is robbing, right, over-exploitation or unsustainable use of resources, right. Of course, the BS what they give out, right, and the cover stories that everything's, they're doing all this environmental stuff, they're planting new trees, they're caring about all the wildlife and all this. Of course, BS. You can see for yourself that they're doing the exact opposite. They're destroying all that type of stuff, the natural resources, right, because they makes profit for their own people, money, profit. So you always see a blatant example, right, of an exact opposite lie, right. Boris Johnson will pledge to protect 30% of UK's land by 2030, right. Additional 400,000 hectares of land. I would like to know how much of that has been actually built on, building these new housing estates, right, for immigrants, basically, right. Now and the idea of putting them on investigation, so Chinese developers, Of course, 2030 is the United Nations agenda. 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Look at this thing. No one should be left behind. So basically look at the mass immigration that's taken place since Boris Johnson was in PM's office, Prime Minister's office. This is what they're up to. Obviously, it's, trying to blend their societies together. Which is obviously, they're trying to make everyone equal. Certain ones are to be brought down, like obviously the Western ones, and brought down in their ways in order to accommodate like the third world has type idea. So everyone's equal to being a third world immigrant. That's what they're trying to bring about. It's crazy. Data-driven monitoring to address inequalities. What does that mean? Like inclusive policies. Like immigrating half of the third world into the Western countries. It's just crazy, right? And again, right, they're personally making profit from selling land that isn't even theirs. They're foreign interlopers, right? Come in, take over, right? And then sell the land off to other foreigners, make a big profit for themselves, and destroy everybody's life into the ultimately into the mix. So yeah, you see that Boris Johnson, the great grandfather Ali Cameron, again that could be the alchemical, right? So he might have just come out of a test tube, but probably of the same line, as this character was a Turkish Muslim, right? So as you say, they're not even British, right? They're not even got any rights to be in these type of lands. You can come in, they can't steal land and then sell it, right, for their own profits and all. That's just like piracy, right? Like total piracy. You see David Cameron. Small amounts of European, Royal, Welsh, Irish and Northern Irish